I have no idea how to pronounce.
Hold on,
this
his
kid's
name is. You're not
Just
joking.
X.
No, that's not.
No, it's XAE dash
112.
But they call him. They call him X for short though.
Yeah, they call him
That's his
Little X.
legal name, as in he got away with putting that on
Yes,
legal
it's
docs.
pronounced.
It has a dash. Oh, well,
it's pronounced like a word, but it's
XAE dash.
Yeah. So I'm glad
12.
we
Okay.
hung out on this family subject, because that's actually what I want to get into right now, because the internet has been raging for almost a week on this debate of where is it appropriate to bring kids, where is it appropriate to have kids involved in things. And to start us off, I want to go back a couple weeks. Rob, I believe you guys discussed this on PBD podcast right after it happened, where there was a little bit of controversy over whether Elon should have brought little X into the Oval Office when he did a press conference with Trump. If we can roll this video, we'll see what was going on then.
Kid's picking his nose.
We need
It's
to
already
free
a
the,
good
free the
start.
builders of America to build. And if we do that, that means
Fix it,
you get
fix
the
it. I think he's
economic
gonna put it
growth
under the
to
desk.
maybe 3-4%,
No, don't eat it.
5%.
Don't eat it. Nope.
And that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth, and you can cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation.
Oh, man's digging for
There's
gold
no
there.
inflation in 26.
Well, especially
And if the government is not borrowing,
really going at it.
Yeah.
cost decline.
But anyway, we can
everyone's
skip to my next
mortgage.
headline because it perfectly dovetails in. Trump swaps out Resolute Desk in the Oval Office days after Elon Musk's son X appeared to write booger on it. So
Do you really believe that true?
no,
No.
I don't. It's apparently because the Resolute Desk, the very famous one that's been in there for a century and a half at this point, it just needed some basic maintenance. There's like 6 desks on rotation. But it's kind of funny that the day after, or a couple days after, little X wiped a booger on the Resolute Desk, Trump says, I'll work on a new desk for a little while. Go
He's a
clean that up.
germaphobe.
Yeah.
They say that, but when he came, when President Trump came and did PBD podcast, he shook my hand, he shook Patrick's hand, he shook a lot of the people's hands in the room. Germaphobes typically do not do that. They'll go elbow, they'll do fist bump. I've never known germaphobes to go up and shake the hands of complete and utter strangers.
Well, you have to in politics. Like I think you get over some things, but just blatant nose picking's a different level of
The
germaphobe.
Resolute Desk. How long has that been in the office for?
They have an option of different desks they could choose when they get
Yeah,
in
but
there.
I believe the original Resolute Desk has been there since 1883. If I'm
So
remembering the date
but was
correctly.
that my point? Was that there when Bill Clinton was there with Monica Lewinsky? Because
Yeah.
if that wasn't dirty enough to get out after that, the booger is going to be in no.
Yeah, like I
competition.
said, I believe they have six desks on rotation that they can use. Each of them, made out of historic materials and stuff.
It's funny you bring up the Clinton thing. There's this weird movement that I've noticed where we're trying to prop up Monica Lewinsky as someone who was the victim of grooming, and she is now some type of hero. She did like a Time magazine interview, and she's got a new podcast of how she overcame the abuse. Do you guys know how old Monica Lewinsky was when she began her affair
was in
with?
her
22.
22 years old in 1995. Guys, I got to be honest. I understand that there are men that are in positions of power that sometimes abuse that power, and I'm not trying to justify that. But at 22 years old, aren't you a fully developed woman where you can make decisions on your own? It's not like he grabbed a 15-year-old in high school and started... and I'm not defending Bill Clinton's pervert actions, especially what he was doing with the cigar. But is she really a victim at 22
I'm
years
much
old?
more interested in what age
when
she got, what age she was when she got trained to be a Mossad honeypot.
Exactly. She was groomed. She was groomed by the Mossad allegedly.
Yeah.
Not Clinton.
I was never on that bandwagon until she said I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I'm like, oh, so you're voting for the party that allegedly sexually abused you and that ruined your life afterwards, and now you're deciding to vote for them. I was like, oh, now you are, I believe.
That
a
one
Mossad
doesn't make
honeypot.
any sense. Like, I get Dick Cheney coming out for Kamala Harris because he had an invested interest in not being thrown in jail for war crimes, in my personal opinion. I don't know if he's actually done that, but you look at the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and none of it made sense. But for Monica Lewinsky to come out, that's the endorsement you want? How many bad endorsements did Kamala Harris get? The Hawk Tuah girl? Did she also throw that in there? Because at this point, if blowjobs are what we're going to use as a barometer for a political endorsement, then Bonnie Blue and the other gal that just got pregnant from banging 1,037 guys, they should be all over endorsing people as well.
Did she get pregnant from that?
Yeah,
I'm going to
shockingly.
vomit.
But however, she looks way more pregnant than she would be. Like that session didn't happen that long ago, and I saw her and she had like a full baby bump, and they're like, she's pregnant. I'm like, well, maybe she was pregnant when that happened because there's no way she'd be that pregnant now. It's not like all the sperm made a super baby that developed
They say birth
quicker.
control has what, like a 1 in 1,000 chance of you still getting pregnant, so they figure they just test the
I
odds.
found it. Okay, she tested it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go back to your story.
But anyway, that sparked a discussion of, is it appropriate for Elon to have brought his son into the Oval Office? What do you guys think? Because I don't believe there's been a child in the Oval Office since JFK's kids.
I do think it was a deliberate, not a ploy, but I don't think it was an accident. And it was done for the photo op, and they're trying to draw some sort of subliminal comparisons between the two transformational governments. I don't think it was an accident. I think it's totally fine. But then again, I brought my kid here a number of times and slap him, give him a computer. The only issue is that you bring your kids into politics and it sort of makes them fair game for the haters in politics, which is
not necessarily true. I remember Rush Limbaugh got a ton of blowback when he referred to Chelsea Clinton as a dog at one point. They compared her looks to that of a dog. And I remember even the right came out against Rush Limbaugh. Now, the weird part, that doesn't necessarily, it didn't apply, like the media covered the Bush gals when he was in office. I don't know if you remember this, because I remember they started drinking and partying and the news would cover that. And they also covered like the Obama gals when they'd go out and smoke. So there is a weird part where, I guess you're right, where if you are brought into the political world, people can talk about you. It's just the public's perception.
The president's
of the talk
kids
that
have
you're
always
doing.
kind of been involved in that. You know, there was Tad Lincoln way back in the day, I believe.
That was really far back.
you're talking
Lincoln.
Tad
Who's
Lincoln,
that?
like Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln's
No,
son.
I'm just
who the hell
referring
calls him
back to
Tad?
like famous children of presidents. You know, Tad Lincoln was like
Oh,
a
it's
beloved
his
fixture
son.
of the White House.
Yes, he wasn't calling Abraham
No.
Lincoln Tad.
No.
He was referring to Abraham Lincoln's son, Tad,
Got
which
it.
is not a good name.
And Teddy Roosevelt's daughter was notorious for like smoking on the
Screw that
roof.
guy.
And at one point, someone
she
asked him
was.
why he couldn't stop his daughter from smoking during functions, and he was like, "I can govern the country, or I can control Alice. I cannot possibly do both."
Well, he didn't either.
Yeah, it seems like he didn't either, as Brandon will talk about in just a moment. But I believe there's a difference between the president's kids and Elon's kids.
It was distracting.
Yeah, but speaking of distracting, here's this other headline that really got the story going. Bride struggles through vows as baby screams during ceremony. And this video went viral on TikTok, has millions of views now, and sparked a whole debate on whether children should even be allowed at weddings. So of those of you who are married or have been married at any point, did you have a kid-friendly wedding? Did you allow children?
I will not go to a wedding that doesn't allow kids, period.
Actually, hold on, elaborate, because I want to hear your reasoning for that.
I find that to be, but not offensive in that sense. I'd like taking my kids places. If they're going to have first of all, it shows a bit of a finickiness of the person organizing it. And I don't want to be judgmental because I don't know if any of you have done that and think it's appropriate, but I've literally been invited to weddings where it's no kids, and I said, thank you, I'm not going.
What about long flights? Do you think it's selfish of the parents to bring kids on long flights?
No, because if the parents, okay, at what age kids? Babies?
No, like babies. No, I'm not talking kids. I'm talking babies that will cry because, like, naturally, yeah, you're going to cry if you're a baby and you're on a plane.
Adults need to deal with children acting like children.
It's
Period.
not
full
the
stop.
baby's fault for crying on the plane.
No, but
If you have to travel on a plane, like what we've discussed with when our daughter's born, we're probably going to avoid long plane rides for the foreseeable future until she's a little bit older. But if you're on the plane with the baby, the other passengers kind of need to suck it up. We'll do our best to keep her quiet, but like someone who can't speak feels like their head is in a vice and they're not able to
that's
process
why I said,
that.
is it selfish
Yeah.
of the parents to put the baby in that position than to put the other people in the position of being, like, you know, disrupted by a baby?
Sometimes you got to go somewhere.
Yeah, dude, planes aren't comfortable in general. If you want a comfortable flight experience, the only way that's possible in general is if you get first class and they give you really good earbuds in first class. Obviously,
Or
most people-
Xanax. I can tell you
Or
that much.
Xanax, there you
Xanax
go.
will knock you right out on that flight, not from personal experience, but I can tell you that I know people that they'll take it. By the time they sit down in their plane seat and the time the plane lands, they wake up and go, that was mildly refreshing.
Yeah, so Rob.
On the way to Arizona, I had a lady breastfeeding her crying baby next to me the whole time. We were talking about how great Trump is.
All right, cool.
Yes.
So Rob, at your wedding, or did you have a
we
kid
did not
friendly?
have a wedding.
Okay.
No,
what's
and
your
I've been
opinion
to
on that?
weddings, and I've never had that. Don't bring a child. I would also never bring a baby to a wedding. I would either find a sitter. Like if it was my son. Okay, that's not true. My sister-in-law got married, and I was dating my wife at the time, and we brought our 6-year-old at the time, and he was completely fine during that. but he's not a baby. If he was a baby and there was a chance that he would disrupt the ceremony, then no, I'm not bringing the child. So I think there should be like an age cutoff. It doesn't have to be said, but it should just be known. Hey, this is kind of morally or socially acceptable, not morally.
Or
socially
if the kid's throwing a hissy fit, you go outside.
Yeah.
So you-
That was the
Then what you
that
do
was
is
the
you
issue.
grab him by the arm and you drag him. And you go, listen, you little shit.
You can't do that in front of people. You can't-
Yeah, well, you don't say that in front of you. Like, no, let's go for a walk. And then as soon as you turn that corner, you're like, listen.
Well, that was the issue in this viral TikTok of they're in the middle of the vows, and apparently, according to what
we
the
gonna see the
bride
video?
posted, I was gonna not show the video just because we're tight for time.
never
But I
seen it.
mean,
We
go
gotta see
ahead
it.
and play it
for
real
it.
quick if you can.
Wanna see
I
how
don't want
bad
to eat up
this is.
Brandon's segment.
But I'm
No,
the
you're
only
good.
one that knows them. And one of the questions I asked was, when did you know you were in love and wanted to spend the rest of your life together as husband and wife?
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
So you could hear the baby screeching a little bit in the back.
That
It's
didn't
hard to
sound
hear
that
from that
bad.
video.
Yeah, it's
That's more like
Yeah.
the person that was filming that is now upset because they're not going to be able to put it on their Instagram.
Oh,
about the
it
baby
was the
crying.
bride herself who was speaking out about how she was frustrated by it, advising that no one ever bring a baby to a wedding ever. What part of the issue was that the guy who had the baby said he drove 10 hours to be at the wedding and he wasn't going to leave the room even when the kids started screaming. So I think both of them are a little bit wrong here because weddings are supposed to be, like fun family functions. I remember when my wife and I got married, our pastor's daughter was like 3 years old. She ran up to the table when we were at the reception and was so excited because she was acting like she was meeting a Disney princess. She didn't recognize my wife in the dress. She just saw pretty dress, makeup. It must be a princess, and she wanted a hug and a picture and everything.
Well, if we're going to talk about wedding etiquette quickly, a few things, and then we'll go to Brandon's segment about why we must remove
few
Teddy
things.
Roosevelt from Mount Rushmore.
right now.
Yes. First of all, when it comes to weddings, no more picking a dish. Buffets are the way to go. Does everybody agree? Buffet is the perfect
No,
spread.
buffets are where you spread giardia and germs and colds.
Oh, I love it. Buffet is my favorite meal. When they go, what's your favorite meal? Buffet. I love it. Second, destination weddings, bullshit. Stop inviting me to go on a vacation you want to go on, and then I have to spend money on a plane ticket. And then on top of that, my presence isn't enough to be the present. I also have to get you a gift. Go fuck yourself. And then finally, and third, and probably most importantly, has anybody here ever seen Old School?
Oh, yeah.
I think it should be
my
mandatory
boy,
that
Blue.
every wedding moving forward have the Dan Band play as the wedding band. They are the best band in the world. If you've not looked up the Dan Band, go and look them up on Spotify and YouTube. They play the best music.
Oh,
in
that
every
guy
band.
the guy that swears all the time.
I fucking need
Yeah,
you more
yeah,
than ever.
yeah.
That should be the band that you have playing at your wedding. Make it a fun activity, not an emotional one.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.